Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time for my game against Saru, Royal League Emperor Division. And last time I said this will be more or less the finals, but that wasn't true. PV4 can still realistically win this game, and there are some possible 3-way, 4-way ties. No matter what, in order to win the season, we have to win this upcoming game. Otherwise, it will be more or less impossible. Yeah, but also we can state we already achieved our goal of staying in the league, which is hard enough as it is. So no matter the result, I am already happy with the season. I'm staying for next season. And yeah, without further ado, as they like to say, let's go to the game. Saru is in first position here and starts with the Stonehenge. Kind of interesting. There is no Suez Canal, so I can understand that he doesn't value the Colossus that much. In my personal opinion, the Roman roads is a bit better than the Stonehenge, but it's maybe close. So here I already have a somewhat interesting start. I think paying 2 civil actions for EG is not correct either way. I could take Boudica, but then he opens with Caesar and I am forced right away to use the Boudica rocks for a warrior, which is always a bit awkward in my opinion. So I prefer to just take a wonder. In the case where I take the leader, I don't get an H1 AA wonder, an HA wonder. There are good H1 wonders, so I really contemplated going for Boudica because she's just way better than Caesar. But there are also some other wonders that leaders that can drop later, which I might then take instead of Caesar. And yeah, overall I thought even if I take Caesar, he also has that problem that he has to build a warrior right away, or else he will never get a bonus out of her. So yeah, I go for Roman roads and the rich land. Saru then does take Boudica, elects her, takes EG and builds a mine. And here we only have the option to wait for Ashoka, which I don't think is that great. So I just go for Caesar and force him to take the warrior or not do anything with the leader for a while. There's an iron on 3 and I keep it on 3 here. So it might realistically be the case that we get an iron for 2 next turn. Draw 3 cards, vast territory, reds, and knowledge of the ancients. And yeah, will be interesting to see what we decide to seed here. It's not that obvious. So Saru indeed does go for the warrior. I think there's actually kind of a bit of a synergy here for him in that sense that this wonder doesn't make it that bad that he has to build a warrior. So he just builds this and makes up a bit for the loss of science income. Otherwise he would have to build so he's missing the philosophy right now, right? He put the man into a warrior, which you actually never want to do. But he gets the science here, and also, if he finishes it, he gets a happy face. So he can just do it again. And in that sense, there's a bit of a synergy between Boudica and that wonder, I would say, with the happy face. And yeah, making up for the lost science. I guess that's actually, yeah, a synergy. So he almost finishes it. which means he is able to go for this Forbidden City if he wants to. And here we decide to seed the knowledge of the ancients. I think it's a bit better for me because he has the extra signs already. So in a relation, those 2 extra signs or maybe 3 extra signs that I get at some point will be a bit better for me. And then just the reds also playing that with the knowledge of it can work out quite well. I do take iron for 2 here and then build 2 stages of the Roman roads. Want to kind of finish this early with this. I also have the option to take Forbidden City if he doesn't take it. Just finish the wonder and take it. Yeah, I think this is a clean turn. We do skip the philosophy, but if we look at this, there's Shakespeare in the deck. There's also a Bach in the deck. This looks like culture might be important. Setting up for printing presses can work fine. And if I have good alternative turns to building the philosophy, then I think waiting for the printing press can work out reasonably. We also just put some extra signs already in the deck. So yeah, staying on +1 signs for a bit can pay off later if you get the printing press down at some point. So we also have some territories already and 1 colonization card. But I think it's a little risky maybe to seed it as of now, since he also just had the development of politics. We only have 1 card and it's a bit swingy if you seed those and lose those territories. If you don't really have a good way to colonize them, more or less certainly, then it's a bit swingy. So I will probably be a bit hesitant to seed them here. Saru finishes the Stonehenge and populates, and now, interesting, does he go for Forbidden City? No, he does not. He takes the Swordsman and Chishka. Doesn't elect Chishka yet, but takes him in hand and plays the Phalanx tactic, and there's knights coming down the row. And this messes with my turn a bit, I would say. I would like to, first of all, I finish the Roman roads. I think you do that always here. And I would like to just go for this Forbidden City, but I think it's a bit dangerous not to take those knights. Depending on his draw in the politics in the development of politics, and depending where the second copy of knights are, he can go, if he builds 2 knights, which is not that unrealistic that he does that actually just in this upcoming turn, then he goes to, what is it? 2 knights is 4, and then 6 with this is 10. So he goes to 12 strength with Chishka. And then it can be very bad, I think. Because Chishka has produced some culture, and he's in the range where he can win any aggression he has. And if that happens repeatedly, I think if he just wins 1 aggression, it's already good for him, because he didn't pay that much for that then. Yeah, but if he wins multiple aggressions, and then especially into H2, and I don't know where the second copy of knights are, and when I can like contest this strength push, if he has a good draw in H2, I think the game is just over. So I do take those knights here in hand. And the breakthrough. It's also a decent turn. But I would have preferred, I think, to just take this Forbidden City. Especially with the Roman roads, that gives some extra rock income, and the iron in hand. Taking an H1 wonder would have felt very good here. Then there's a question, do we want to play a tactic? And I decided that was a really difficult question for me actually, because on the one hand, if we play a tactic, then as we also see after the turn already, I decided not to play those for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. I think it's a bit too swingy. He's also, I do have 3 MA, but I have only drawn 1 colonization card. And he's also going to be on 3 civilization military actions pretty soon. And he has swordsman in hand. So he will not be well equipped to contest those territories. And then it's just too swingy, I think, to put them in here. So I didn't go for it. I would have preferred to just seed something else, but maybe I would have also not seeded anything after all, because many events could mean corruption here. And I do think being able to take this breakthrough also and not having to like populate the last turn is also good for me. So that's also maybe a bit of the reason why I didn't decide to like gamble for one of those. And then yeah, there's this fighting band. It would help to go for one of those to be able to bid a bit more. On the other hand, this tactic is just so good for Chishka. If the knights are further in the back and he doesn't draw a legion, and I have both copies of this, I think this is the best Chishka tactic, because it's super easy to go to 3 culture income with this. He would already be at 2 culture income, then he bids 1 warrior, 1 agriculture or something, and then he's at 3 culture income. I think this tactic's too good, so I don't play it. The plan is rather now just to go for these failings myself at some point, maybe, if it's necessary or if I deem it to be valuable. Yeah, so already a lot of complicated decisions regarding the politics here. I do keep the vast territory, maybe at some point, if I have some extra colonization card draw, maybe at some point I can go for it. We also see draw immigration and developed territory. Immigration is nice to see. He has the extra happy face, so it's good that he doesn't get the free extra population. Now it's interesting to see what Saru does. He does seed here, opens development of crafts, and he just builds the philosophy, develops the swordsman, takes a rich land. Upgrades a swordsman. Yeah. I decide not to seed again. I think it's the same reasons as before. I don't want to really, especially now, he already has also swordsman. I really don't want to go for this tactic, and I'm not very well equipped to contest the territories, and I have nothing else to seed. I guess it's especially bad with Caesar if you don't draw any cards that you can seed. I've mentioned it once or twice actually in other videos. I think Caesar's best case is when you can obviously seed 1 or 2 times per turn, but neutral events, more or less. It's even better not to draw strength events unless you obviously have a foolproof way to win those. But it's very good to just draw something like, I admittedly did something like Rats or Knowledge of the Ancients, and then all the other events, like even the Raiders is okay, but the Pestilence are neutral events here. Pestilence, New Deposit, Cultural Influence, and so on. Those are very bad. Good to draw with Caesar. Not seeding here means he gets another event into the deck, but I really don't think I should seed a colony here. Maybe I'm too afraid. Maybe I have to gamble that, but I would say it's too swingy. My situation isn't bad per se here. I have an early iron and go to 6 rock income here. Maybe this Universitas will be possible. We can also populate. This Code of Laws stays on 3 like this. Build the warrior. just to be a bit efficient, I think, with the MA that I have here from Caesar, the extra MA. I even get rid of this fighting band. I think it's really bad to play that. Now, yeah, draw those. They are the worst. But it is what it is. Development of markets is revealed. Now Saru did get to play 2 events. And for me, so he goes for the masonry, builds a swordsman still, populates, takes bread and circus. For me, this more or less screams that, let's say, strength events are at least possible. They are not. He could also just play something neutral, but I think in his position I would gladly put strength events in. So that's something we have to take into consideration for our turns. Gets the masonry out, so he can possibly go for this Universitas or the Machu Picchu. So here we have a lot of rocks lying around. So what is the turn? Populate, take Isabella. It's kind of hard to get out of corruption. Take the printing press. Populate. Yeah. This means no court of laws. This means the affirmational setup for the Shakespeare. And this also means it's a bit greedy. I mean, I totally agree with Isabella. She's kind of fine, and now we do have a way. We still have this vast territory in hand, and we kind of do have a way to contest it in the future. Yeah, I would have preferred another leader, but they were all kind of impossible so far to take. And I don't know when Barbarossa is going to drop. And if he drops in a way where I lose the civil action, I think the difference between Barbarossa and Isabel is not big enough. So yeah, she was just here. I do get the printing press. I cannot take the Court of Laws, but I think it was more or less impossible anyway. Maybe if I don't go for printing press at all here, maybe that would be better in this situation. But I do think having this option for Shakespeare is pretty good. And yeah, not taking this university has also hurt. I would have loved to take it. But we can still get one of those wonders. Probably the castle won't be gone. I would assume he's going to for one of those. Universitas or Machu Picchu, and won't pay an extra civil action for this Himeji castle. If he even goes for one of those. Maybe he doesn't do that even. So we can still find a rock dump for our rocks. Yeah. Saru goes for the Court of Laws. Does hurt that I wasn't really able to take this for 2 civil actions here. Didn't really fit into the turn at all. And yeah, maybe we have to look at this a little more closely and say, maybe then this printing press play and waiting for it and losing out on the side's income does hurt my position somewhat. But I would say it's still, it will pay off in the long run to have paid some price here. And we did some reasonable things in the meantime. So will be interesting to see how those positions play out. But yeah, of course, him getting the Court of Laws now. And he indeed, interestingly, does go for Machu Picchu over the Universitas. Yeah. Yes. I think it's kind of hard to say who has the better position from my perspective. But he has the extra civil action. I do take the castle here, and build a printing press. It's about time to go to +2 science income. And I still adapt the tactic for, yeah, possibly still building a knight at some point. I did say I more or less expect there to be 1 or 2 strength events in there. And maybe at some point just building the knight can have a lot of value. And those are H1 draws, so I'll gladly spend those. Saru seeds, and there's actually a wealthy territory, which he wins for 5. And if we look at my civilization, can we do it here? Actually, yeah. Then we see that 5 is actually almost all I had. I bid 1 warrior, the defense card, and then I actually was willing to use 6 extra rocks to go for this wealthy territory. And I would have gladly won it actually, also for 6 extra rocks, even although this only says 6, and then you might argue then that it's objectively bad to pay 6 plus a warrior for 6 rocks. But there's also those 3 blue cubes, which make the game a lot easier. Especially in my situation, I have a lot of rocks lying around anyway. And also I think you can't calculate it like that. It's a zero-sum game, and this is a swing of 12 rocks. So even paying 6 rocks plus the warrior can objectively be correct. And yeah, I think this wealthy territory is so good for Saru in this situation. It's so good. Yeah, that I would have actually gladly won it for 6. I don't think bidding 2 warriors, I think that would have been too much. Bidding 2 warriors would have been too much, but I was willing to pay 6. At least I made him play all those defense cards. So yeah, I was right to hesitate, I think, to seed those colonies. And now I think it's also very reasonable to go for this vast territory that I still have in hand. Yeah, but this wealthy territory enables him to have a very strong turn now. He can finish this and upgrade iron twice. So yeah, that's huge for him. This wealthy territory timing is extremely big here, I would say. He actually did find a legion tactic and goes for that now. So here, I think I would love to take this monarchy still. Maybe it's something I should consider. I didn't see it. I think we still have time. There's just still 3 cards, and we can just wait some draws. Timing-wise, I think it makes no difference, or there are very few cases where it makes a difference if we seed now or not. Yeah, in terms of when this will be revealed, possibly. Just when we draw an event that we want to seed every time now, then it might be a bit later. Yeah, and then it's kind of hard to get out of corruption. I need to populate. I know also that there are rats in there, so we also already want to populate to just avoid those rats. And then not finishing this, taking monarchy for 2, might be necessary. I wouldn't be too happy with this. I would definitely prefer to wait for an H2 government with more or less the explicit plan of going for a revolution. So I would take any government that drops, and I would probably go for a revolution to those, no matter what. I think even if I took this monarchy now, I would have to settle for a revolution for it. And then it means a ton of corruption, I think. Not finishing this and taking this, then I can not finish it again or not go for the revolution. So I thought it's, I think, a reasonable gamble to wait for the H2 governments. So the last civil action is also taking irrigation. I think this is a reasonable plan here. There is an ocean liner, there's also a statue, and I have the vast territory. Can argue this irrigation is not strictly necessary, but I think in some situations it will still be good. So I take it here. And we also draw the inhabited territory, so now it looks yeah, like we just want to seed those, and hopefully, yeah, he has more military actions, but we can hopefully go for those. Irrigation for 2 by Saru, he does not seed. And I have to press play. He also goes for the food income, goes to yeah, 9 food, and there's a rats in there, so I could possibly hit him quite hard here with the rats, and I do reveal those. So he gets rid of, he loses 9 food here, but I would say it's really not the end of the world for him. It just, he's on 0+5 now, and it just delays the food income or his possible population actions a bit, and he can do other things. So yeah, it's definitely good for me, but it's not the end of the world for him, losing this 9 food. So here I decide to take both H2 breakthroughs, because I think that we both are struggling with science by now. He's on 3+2 here. I'm on 7+3. These cards have a lot of value, and the last selection is actually to go for those knights, because as I told you, I have a very high certainty, more or less, that he has strength event in there, the way he played. And there are some strength events that could just kill me. So for example, this call to arms could possibly lose the game right away. If there's a government in there and I lose call to arms and can't take it, I think that just loses the game more or less in that situation. And also the uncertain borders would be extremely ugly, I would say. So I decide to go for those knights. With those, yeah, 6 extra signs that I took here. I hoped still the plan is, I think, to go for a revolution with any government. And Saru builds a swordsman, goes for Nobel here, takes Conmon for 3, it dropped here, and upgrades the warrior. So he indeed, there are more or less telegraphs that there indeed is a high impact strength event. And yeah, the Nobel puts him to +4 science here. And he is himself now maybe in the situation where he could go for this Conmon revolution, depending on what's happening in the row next turn. I see the inhabited territory, the knowledge of the ancients is revealed, and we both get 3 signs here. And yeah, since I did seed vast territory and inhabited territory, and also because it makes me stronger, so I was willing to seed into the possible strength event, because the only way that I could realistically still contest a strength event is going to with this navigation if I hit the knowledge of the ancients. So I did that. I did hit it, and yeah, now I get stronger, and it's extremely good value, I would say, for the two territories that are in there, and possibly a territory by him. And in this situation, he doesn't have a really good way to get stronger. He would have to dispense something, or I don't know. It would be very awkward for him to get stronger. So yeah, I go for this navigation. It might be maybe even debatable, since I do lack science a lot. And this 6 science is expensive. But I think with all the reasons combined, it's a decision that I would do again. So I think it's reasonable to go for this. And the plan is still clear to possibly, hopefully, get the other government, which is Republic, and go for that revolution. Last election is up, or we still have 2. Upgrade mine, get out of corruption, and also just already develop this irrigation. There are some rocks here, efficient upgrades. I don't think it's reasonable. I don't think we can reasonably go for scientific method. Don't have people for that. So at some point this will have to happen anyway. I would have loved to be able to take this Revalier, and maybe I would have done it, but it would have put Shakespeare out of the deck. He doesn't have a setup for Shakespeare, and he also has leader already, so I'm safe to get him next turn. I think if it wouldn't put our Shakespeare out of the deck, I would have taken the corruption and not upgraded the iron and just taken this Revalier. But like this, I plan to take Shakespeare next turn. And here we already see a pretty bad thing happening. Saru gets the other government, so I'm stuck on the despotism into H3, which is always pretty bad. But he had to pay this 3 civil actions here. Takes the Revalier and populates. He has now a lot of rocks, and there's an ocean liner coming, which could just go for next turn. I see it and do indeed win in uncertain borders, and yeah, we can see this would be a huge difference if he won it versus if I won it. So I do think building this knight was correct. Also considering that he has 3 swordsmen here, and depending on the next 1 or 2 turns, depending on his draw, you can also have a very high strength potential. And I'm then already reasonably set up to not just die to an H2 war. So I'm pretty confident that building this knight was necessary here. Yeah, I'll talk about that much about it, because I often argue that it's not worth to go for knights at all, and it is also close here, because it costs not having built this philosophy. But if we look at this, if I build that, I think it would look super awful if I lost this uncertain borders, and if he had a war in hand or something. So yeah, I think it was necessary, and I think it was the right decision to go for the phalanx here. I now can take Shakespeare in hand. Justice system alleviates the 4, so I get my 5th civil action at least now. So in that regard, gets a little playable. I also am very happy about those blue cubes. They do help a lot here, as we see. You can upgrade the farm ones and just build one. Was already a bit confused why I didn't just build one. I upgraded it first and then built one. And then we are on 0+4 and can reasonably get some more population out, especially if we win one or maybe even both of the territories. And Saru seeds. It opens a historic territory, which I'm pretty happy with. So he did also seed one, and we get it for a warrior. I think it's definitely worth it to pay a warrior here. The happy face does something immediately. It frees up a population at once. Would also do something for him. And yeah, I'm happy that he also put a territory in there. He goes for the common peacefully and takes cannon in hand and organized religion and does not take the ocean liner, interestingly. But it's also understandable. Yes, a lot of food income here, and maybe it doesn't deem it worth it to spend almost his entire turn. And then if he would have also, he could have taken, built it, and then maybe taken one card. Oh no, he developed the common in this turn, right? Yeah, so he could have then taken it and built it, but taken no cards here. So that would be a little awkward. So then he would build it next turn. And then, he has other alternatives here. So he didn't deem it good enough here in this situation. There is also no international Red Cross, which might play into that decision also. I think many players would have taken and played it, but I can understand it was definitely not a no-brainer here. Also for me, if I would do it in this situation, I'm not certain. I think I might also think or come to the conclusion that one of these wonders might be even better in this situation. And like this, he also gets to take the Rev idea. He has to still get a happiness solution. And that one is arguably better than this Bread and Circus. There's also no Coubertin in the deck here. So he just goes for that here. Gets out of corruption. It's a very clean turn like this. Builds a swordsman. And here, he has 4 swordsmen now. First of all, I seed. Not entirely certain what I seeded. Maybe I will remember at some point. And we get this vast territory even just for a warrior. He can't really bid or isn't really willing to bid a lot for that. And if we look at these 4 swordsmen now and the way he played, this looks kind of threatening. If he has drawn a defensive army in the amount of draws he had, then his position is very threatening. And classical army 2 would also be threatening, but he didn't take cavalryman, so it's here his out is the defensive army, and then he can go to a lot of strength in a very short time. And I actually thought a lot about this turn, and I was almost willing to just do more or less nothing in this turn, and also not seed. Wait with the seeding. Do more or less nothing in this turn and take this railroad. Because I think I have to be just afraid of his military potential, and if he does have this defensive army and maybe an H2 war, he can just go for this railroad, build it, and build a cannon and go to something like 25 strength, more or less, just in the next turn, and kill me with any war. So I was almost willing to do more or less nothing but take this railroad. But the problem I have with that turn is there are multiple problems. I don't do anything this turn. I still need to fix this science income. So build this second printing press was long overdue. And if I take this railroad, I can't really do it and take an opera. And then the Shakespeare would just not do anything. So I would have to take it and take opera. This means also I can't take architecture. And this means if I want to build this railroad next turn, it's again almost my entire turn. And I can't do any of those things. Build a library, build an opera, and so on. So I spent 2 entire terms on just this. And I think I can't afford that. I have to be a bit more efficient with the selections here. But it's a close call, I think. Yeah, but I think it's impossible, even in hindsight. I populate, I take this opera in hand. I decide not to take the architecture in hand. I think I have a lot of rocks and not enough science for that. So that would be brain dead, I think. I mean, I wanted to do it because I always do it, but I had to let this architecture pass here. And like this, we can also just build even another philosophy. We have a lot of yellow cubes. Now we are at 4+5. The Rome road science will be gone in H3, but then this is an income that makes it somewhat reasonable to hope for an H3 government at some point. But probably also looking, hoping to get this communism for a revolution. That would be the best, I think. Just developing an H3 government, that is not enough science for that, I think. Maybe if I get 1 or maybe 2 of those rev ideas, then it's maybe possible. Okay. And rebuild the warrior. We can defend, actually. Inhabit the 2 is revealed. It's nice that I can still do it with Isabella. I bid 5. He was again only building to bid 4. And I just spent 1 rock, so I can keep this defense card. And he indeed goes for the railroads and builds a cannon. So this does smell a lot. I would be curious if he has it already. It's slight spoiler, he has the defensive army. He didn't play it now. I would be curious if he already had it or has drawn it now. But he evidently, or apparently, didn't have an H2 war, which would be extremely annoying in this situation. I mean, I could, 20 strength, I could somewhat defend, but he could declare war and also play the tactic. Then he's at 24? Yeah. That would probably just kill me. I mean, I can, what is this then? 11, and I can sack. Yeah. It also heavily depends on the strategy drop. So I would have had the science for strategy now. Maybe I don't die to an H2 war here if I get the strategy. Yeah. And that's a bit better than 50-50 to get that strategy here. It's in this game state a very deciding card, I would say. And we see that it didn't drop, so he gets that. So I have to do what the Shakespeare does, and that's to build opera efficiently. I only go for 1 opera here and still take the rifleman in hand. It will also enable me maybe to copy this defensive army at some point, this telegraph defensive army. Or just go for my own tactics. If I draw an H3 tactic. So I do think this rifleman still has a lot of value here. And use the H2 military actions. I'm actually again in a range where I can defend if I want to, if I sack, depending on the aggression. Yeah, and we can look at this. I mean, Government block does hurt. Not having MA does hurt a lot. He will get the strategy now, which is, I think, a very crucial tech. But I would actually say going into 2h3, it's not that obvious who is ahead. I would say he is somewhat ahead. But I do have some culture leads. I do have some science in hand now. And I think it comes down a lot to h3 still. That is still open. It's kind of hard to judge, but I think it's still open. And I can next turn build another opera, go to 14 culture income. His outs are now military, so I think it will be very hard for him to win this game without drawing wars. Because he ignored I mean, he can still take an opera in hand and maybe also build 1-2 operas, but in that game, I think he loses out against this efficiency. So yeah, will be interesting to see what happens in h3. He seeds. National Pride was the event that I missed. So 5 extra culture for us. And he goes for this strategy immediately. This card is extremely important in this game state. Just took all for 3. He took common for 3, Republic for 3, strategy for 3. What can I do? I can not pay more than 3. And yeah, then we have to look at h1, and this monarchy, the state monarchy, might have been obligatory, but I think I had good reasons not to take it. Hard to say. There's the spoiled defensive army. I mean, he already spoiled it himself, more or less. And he still does take opera in hand. But this looks now very threatening, obviously. And here, there is actually a government, but I think that's more or less the worst now. Because this one, even with the revolution, costs 9 science. I don't have 9 science, and I have no way to go to 9 science. Even I can't build a building to 9 science for next turn. Otherwise, I might have gone for it. But yeah, I think this democracy is then just unplayable for me. If I could take it now and go for into the revolution, maybe then even the democracy is not good for me. I need definitely a communism, a fundamentalism maybe, or even a military theory can play it, keep this game playable for me. There's also very crucially Gandhi in the deck, which can be a life changer or life saver for my civilization here. So here I have to go for those riflemen, I would say, and build 2 riflemen. And I can still go for this opera. I'm at 16 culture now even. I would have preferred, I think, to keep the science income here, but the Roman roads switch to culture generation now. And I'm at 16 culture income. And yeah, we do create quite the lead like that. Saru tries a plunder and I decide to sack. And I'm not certain if that decision is correct, but I think it is. Because if he takes food from me now, and especially losing food, and he can populate and build the cannon for free now without having to do inefficient things. Yeah, but also just the rocks. It's a 10 rock swing or 10 food and or rocks swing, and I think that sacking is correct here. That's probably close. It's also a bit with the thought that I can switch to the cannons and go for the defensive army myself. So the knight won't do that much anyway, right? Just build cannons now. Be open to aggressions once then. And then at some point hopefully get some MA and be able to switch to the defensive army. So he goes for the strategy. Builds the cannon with the reserves and spends 3 civil actions on the reserves again. Or in other reserves is what I wanted to say, but my brain altered it into something else. Organized religion with an urban growth. A lot of rocks. He's very threatening now with 6 MA. Has drawn 6 cards now. And that is already, I think, something like 30% have drawn a war. First air forces go my way here. He would not be in a position to develop it, but I think I still have definitely to take those for 3. And just hope that the other copy is far in the back. And in the end, I do decide to rebuild this knight. Because, yeah, if I don't get rev ideas, and I didn't get those now, I'm still very starved on science. In the regard that I need military theory and or communism, fundamentalism, and or cannons. And since I don't get rev ideas, it's a little unrealistic to develop cannons and then an MA solution. And then I don't know when I will be able to build 2 cannons and adapt the tactic and upgrade those. But with the air forces, I can just play this tactic. I can, if nothing else drops my way, I can just go for air force and play this tactic. So I decide to build a knight. Take the military build up. And indeed, Saru has drawn a war over culture already. Takes the Reverdier, the first one drops for him. And is able then to build another army. Does not draw more cards. So he was on, let's see, he has 6 H2 cards. So it's an interesting question if he has 2 wars or not. He goes to 49 strength like this. And will be in a position to have exactly enough science for air forces. But he cannot take Gandhi away here. And if we look at the culture, I do have a lot of elite. And very likely 1 war is not enough for him. So fundamentalism does drop. But it was also my first gut feeling to just take it. And ultimately I decided to not take it. Because I thought, if I go for this Gandhi, I have actually very realistic chances. So I sadly didn't have enough civil actions to build another phalanx here. But like this, I lose 50 culture. That's 20 strength difference, and that's 50 culture for him. So after this turn, I decide not to sack in this situation. Because he can still, now we are already a little spoiled. Not to sack because I think he could declare another war, but if he does it without air forces, I might then still. So if he does it without being able to build extra units, that's what I'm trying to say, without being significantly stronger than this, then I can just sack in the second war and I still have chances to win, I think. If we look at this, 59 plus 3, I'm still at 67 plus 14. So I'm still decently ahead. But here, I think, yeah, some things come together. He does get the Air Force drop now, which means he can, if he has another war, just prepare the next war. He also draws this reveals this refugees, so he can do this turn here, take Air Forces, develop Air Forces, and with all MA and civil actions, and yeah, MA not extra, but with all the civil actions, he just builds 3 Air Forces. And if he has another war, and this is out of 6 cards, is already super unlikely. I mean, super unlikely. So maybe like, I don't know, 20%. 2 or more out of 6. Maybe, I don't know, gut feeling, I didn't calculate it. You can calculate it with hypergeometric distribution. I would say it's something like 20% maybe. Yeah, but he needed that Air Force drop here, because otherwise it would be too late. Then he couldn't get stronger without for another war. But here, yeah, since he does have the second war, the game is over, obviously. Again, interesting, he did draw 3 extra cards. I would be curious to see if he did need that extra draw. 9 cards increases the chances, the odds for 2 or more wars already significantly. Then it's up to maybe 35% or so. But he did have this war. It came together perfectly science-wise, and with the Air Forces, if that's in the back, I think I do have realistic chances to still win the game. But like, this is obviously over. I never got, yeah, military actions. I never got government, and like this. The game is obviously very over. So ultimately, I think it was an interesting asymmetric game. And the question is maybe that we can ponder at the end of such a game is, did we prove the Shakespeare approach wrong? Was it all too greedy? I think looking back at this game with this replay analysis, I might agree that some things were that, yeah, waiting that long for the printing press was maybe a bit greedy, because I was then at some point stranded with very low science. I think the plan that I had for that was good. I would just go for a revolution in H2 if I had a chance to get a government, but I never got it. And yeah, even getting the strategy, I think, would have created a game state for H3 where I'm very well prepared, where my odds would be pretty good. He needed extra MA, yeah, with the Gandhi in the deck. He needed those strategy military actions. And I mean, I might be biased in this, obviously, but I think my outs were quite decent. If we just look at the fact that he needed 2 wars, and drawing 2 wars out of 9 cards is less than 50% chance, then if that statement is correct, maybe we have to look a little more careful, and at some point he can, after the first war, he can also compete in with his civilization, if he then is still able to build some multimedia or movies or wonders as he did. But this is all a lot of ifs. I think if he didn't have 2 wars, then I have a decent chance to win this game. Maybe I'm then ahead. And yeah, if we say drawing 2 wars, less than 50%, then he needed this Air Force drop in that exact moment. Next turn would be too late. Then he needed the Reverdeer. He had some things going for him. I mean, obviously, again, asymmetric perception of these. I also had some things going for me. This Gandhi could also just be way in the back, and then a lot of my arguments are already false. So calculating that precisely, I can't do it. And maybe you can share what you think, who has the better outs in this game. But I do think I did into H3 even. And yeah, but it's hard to say. I don't know exactly. The true question is, would I play it differently? I think maybe some small things. Early on, the philosophy. I think the second philosophy was important. And then in hindsight, even maybe you can argue that those knights were not correct. That the impact of the swing of the strength event was not enough reason to build those knights. And if I had instead gone for a printing press at that moment, I had some extra signs. I could just build cannons. Then I could maybe then in the end have this, but with cannons in defensive army instead of this phalanx. So it's also with some a lot of ifs, but that might also just possibly be the crucial moment. Then there was this railroad. I mean, I wanted to argue maybe he needed everything, also all the rocks, but I think that's not entirely true. I think he wins that game also very easily if he wins the second war just with maybe one air force or two air forces. Let's say two air forces are definitely enough. So the rocks, I think, were not that important for him. I would have had some extra rocks, but I never had MA. The strength swing, yeah. I was very tempted, as I said, to take it, but I think ultimately it was also correct that I needed some science income and create a game state where at least one war wasn't enough for him. And I think that was my best bet at that moment, to be more efficient and to build those operas. Okay, interesting game. It's an interesting asymmetric game, and yeah, feel free to share with me what you think. Is the greedy Shakespeare meta proven wrong by such a game? Or is my gut feeling correct and are his outs ultimately going into H3? Even here, though he had some things going his way, not good enough to do this consistently. Would be interesting to hear some opinions on that. So yeah, I guess thanks for watching. Like this, I cannot, if I'm not totally mistaken about those tiebreaker rules, I cannot realistically win the season anymore. I can still compete for maybe second or third place if I win my last game. But as I said, I'm already happy that I think it was a successful season for me already, no matter what the outcome of the last game is. Just because I stayed in this super stacked two-player expert league and I managed not to be relegated. And that's, as I said in the beginning, that was my goal. That goal was fulfilled. And we just had a lot of interesting games. And I shared them all. I recorded them all and did the work to share them with you. And I think I'll gladly do that again with the next iteration. So, if I cover the last game or not, I hope I will, but I might not come around to do that. But I hope I will also just cover the last game. Okay, with that, I'm saying goodbye. And congratulations to Saru. And good luck for your last game against PV4. PV4 versus Saru is then indeed, if I'm not missing something now, the finals of the season. I might just go ahead and cover that, actually. Let me know if you are interested to see that coverage, to see the conclusion of the finals, or of the season. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one.